Social Wi-Fi is a pretty controversial topic because a lot of people are worried what happens with social anything, right? Because a lot of websites have social sign-on, right? And I think we've all experienced the time that casual games started blaring ads to our friends on Facebook, or when a new analytics app starts tweeting stuff on our behalf, right?
Yes.
If every little cafe and restaurant and hotel is getting your Facebook information, that kind of scares people. But
well, some people it doesn't.
What is
scare.
the option?
And that's the
What
problem.
is the alternative? And so how can that be handled better? How can the industry solve this concern about social Wi-Fi?
Jenna brought up a good point last night, and it's the sure I'll go ahead and sign up for your service, sign in with my Facebook account, but maybe it doesn't say that business is going to have access to my name, my birth date, all the things that I've ever liked in my life. But then, what if I don't want to use your service anymore? What if I take you off my approved list?
They still have your data.
That's true. You can't sign out.
You've already
you've given them that information, and you can't get that back.
No.
Yeah, once you opted in.
I think it's our industry's fault. Because our vendors who come up with these things go to the customers and say, we have this really cool way you can get ROI and give me more money.
Right, but it's
escalator companies go into retail stores and sell escalators. They don't say you're going to get ROI.
If you get
elevators don't get ROI. Custodial doesn't get ROI. Most things that vendors have, they sell them on their merits. They don't have to strap this thing around to selling it. And for some reason, Wi-Fi vendors think, oh, we have to make our customer think that this itself is going to make them back money, which is leading to the social. If you just sold the Wi-Fi because customers want it. Customers want escalators. If there's no escalators, you'd have fewer people in the store, they'd buy less. So we spend money on an escalator, which on a monthly basis costs way more than the Wi-Fi. And yet, the vendors are telling the customers, here's how you get a return on your investment, so you'll buy my stuff. Why don't you just sell it on the value?
Well, my question is it really free? It's being touted as free Wi-Fi.
No.
We're giving away all kinds of
You are the
stuff.
product. If you are not paying for the connectivity, you are the product.
You're giving away all kinds of personal information that's going in all these weird little nooks and crannies and black holes, and maybe it lives with that business owner, or maybe it gets sold, and that's where it gets really, really murky. That's not free.
No.
But see, it doesn't have to be all that. It
Yeah,
can
so
be
what's the
actually
solution?
free.
Yeah.
When did the last time you paid anything to ride on an escalator? And that escalator cost more money for the business than their Wi-Fi did.
So,
Yeah,
so
but
Keith
in
is
retail, it's all about
suggesting the electricity model, right? So Wi-Fi is like an electrical outlet. You provide it for your customers. They come in, they plug into it, but you don't meter it, you don't report it, you don't,
Or their garbage cans.
Well,
That's not entirely true. There are plenty
of... is that I could come in and download a whole bunch of stuff over the Wi-Fi network, but I can't really put more light bulbs into the mall.
Yeah, but I can plug my Tesla into your electrical outlet.
But there are actually hotels who will meter the lights on in your room, right? Your room key, you have to slide into the thing in order to turn on the light.
That's not normal. It's not normal to go to a garbage can and have an ad on the side, yet you'll see them. It's not normal to go to a public bathroom and have people give you ads or pay money, but you'll see them. So
Every
using
time I
a little
walk
weird
into a gas station, there's ads on the wall in the restroom.
Yeah.
And paying
But what do
money
you think
for
the
bathrooms is the
percentages
norm
change
in
there?
Europe. I mean,
What do you
Well,
think
what
the
are you
percentage
giving
of
away
these-
in the bathroom in exchange for that ad? It's a little bit different.
Eyeballs.
It's a little bit different from what you're giving away when you log in. And,
okay. So Keith is advocating not giving stuff away in order to use Wi-Fi, right? He's advocating Wi-Fi should be a utility that you offer your customers because it improves their environment.
And if you look at the statistics coming off of hotels, the surveys, people want to go in and have free Wi-Fi. My granddaughter has a little iPod Touch, and she got lent at DFW, and the first thing she says, "Oh, there's Wi-Fi." When she was in Atlanta and she had to hit a Captain Portal, she was like, oh, no, there's not Wi-Fi. It was there, but she didn't know how to process it. Either give it away or don't give it away. Yeah. Don't sell it.
Well, which raises the terms of service question, right? Which is, why do captive portals exist in the first place?
Because lawyers are involved.
Legal departments.
Yeah.
Well, and how many successful deployments are there without terms of service?
Well, I don't know. Disney, La Quinta, there's a whole bunch of them. If Disney is a multi-billion-dollar company, does their lawyers, which I'm sure they have buildings full of lawyers.
In fact, they're not too happy with you bringing them up right now.
Oh, yeah. Don't require a captive portal or terms of service. They somehow got around that It's just game.
Yeah, but in retail, their entire focus is analytics. Like they have focuses on where you look at a shelf and stuff, and they spend millions of dollars on these things.
Yes.
So if I can tap into what you're scanning on your phone while you're in my stores, that's value added for me.
So
right
are you
there.
saying
It's not value. It's value added for the store. It's not value added for
service is not to keep you from downloading illegal material or sending nuclear plans to Iran. It's to get your permission to spy on your
Exactly.
access
Absolutely.
patterns.
I want to know what you're looking at while you're in my store, so that way I can focus things. If you're looking at Coke in the back of the store, maybe a lot of people are. I need to move that to the front of the store, so as soon as you come in, you see it. Or maybe I need to move it to the back store, so you have to walk all the way and pass all these
because
other
the store's
items.
lazy.
Right?
The store
Only
could
if I
do it
get my
right
name
now. Stores could get analytics anytime they wanted by just people with their little clickers.
They used to do that.
And they did.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to, and they would still do it if it wasn't for the vendors out saying, we have this really cool way where if you buy our stuff, it'll work.
Let me ask you this, though.
Some of it's pretty cool, like that scrape stuff yesterday from Wireless Nerd. That was actually pretty nice.
So
And
let's
it
take
goes,
it in this
that's
direction.
one slippery soap, though.
But let's take it in this direction. So in what cases could social Wi-Fi work? Instead of so Keith's point, like I'm saying, is this is you shouldn't have to do this, but what take it in another direction. When should you do it? How can you do it?
That bar thing that he was doing,
Speed dating.
awesome. Speeding.
There's apps for that.
I think you could write an ethics thesis on this whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really.
I think it's miserable, but you always have your fake accounts ready to go.
But let me ask you this.
If I'm going to stalk you, I hope that you're into that. If I'm a stalker, I hope you dig that whole scrape thing because I know everything you like and I'm cozying up to you, and all of a sudden we like the same things, and
And scrape.
you're
Hey, but
going
if
to meet
if
a
you're
bad
signing
end.
into
if
Spotify
me
and these
you hang
apps
out.
with your Facebook account,
You're already
then
sharing.
you're already there. You're already sucked
you
in.
already put your information into Facebook.
Exactly.
What do you think Facebook's business model is?
But that's
Telling
between
you.
you and Facebook, not between you and Facebook
And everybody in the bar.
and whoever owns the bar or whoever their VAR is, which
Whoever they
might be
sell the
my
data to.
weird cousin Leroy.
which is
You
why they
know,
have
now
to
all of
ask
a sudden he's a data miner and a data farmer, and he has this new commodity, and there's this weird little persona about you created that he's looking at and making decisions on about you that might be accurate or not, and he's selling that to other people, and you've got this whole virtual
So this is how you
Jake
fix
that's
it.
being sold to the rest
So
of
how
the
do you
world.
fix it, Sam?
Misinformation. Nobody says the information I have to give is correct.
Does that fix it?
no. So here's
Well, it makes you damage the data integrity so bad that it's no longer useful to whomever's buying it.
I don't think
But
that's
that
going to work,
data
though,
is-
because
is
you saw
by
how happy
behavior.
Noodle was with 12% take-up. They were happy that they got 12.
And if you go start signing up Noodles company's CEO and the CXO and the CTO and all of their employees, that number goes up. But the usefulness of that data, it becomes irrelevant. Yeah, it goes down. And they go, this is great, except for the fact that I've got a bunch of folks who are signing up my employees, not themselves.
Which brings me to another point. So I worked in retail and IT, and during the boom in supermarket loyalty cards, and those things were it was a huge fad, and it reminded me so much of social Wi-Fi, because what they were saying was this loyalty card is going to get us better customer analytics. We're going to move the Coke from the back to the front. We're going to offer a coupon that says, oh, you bought a Snicker bar, you might like a Twix bar.
3 cents off gas.
And you know what? Stores are actually ripping those out. Why? Because they found that they don't pay. All that analytics, all that benefit, like you're saying, and it wasn't because customers revolted. It was just because it wasn't all that good data. So is there a chance that social Wi-Fi is going to have that same kind of fall where people realize, well, maybe this isn't radically great data. Maybe we should just not use it.
So does anybody here use Amazon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's another great example.
So Amazon has a ton of data, and to the point where I log into Amazon and they already know the crack that I want to buy before I log in, and it's like, ooh, we recommended for Jake. Oh yes, I need that, and I have the credit.
2 days.
Does your
That's
local,
Prime.
but does your local pub have that data when you go in and buy a beer and they turn around and they try to sell you that same thing you wanted on Amazon?
There's no fun little app pulling my Amazon data that I'm aware of.
I know when I hit Amazon what's going to happen.
Yeah, but I mean the same thing is
But
that
Amaz-
Amazon. I've given Amazon all of this data. And Amazon is doing the exact same thing that the retail store is doing. They're trying to manipulate me into buying stuff that I want.
Works. Except Amazon's not giving you something for free, right? Facebook is giving you a service for free. Amazon, you are saying, I'm going to give you transactional data. I'm going to give you real dollars. You're going to give me a product back. All they're doing is watching that transaction. Facebook, it's all free, right? That you are the service being sold. And those are two entirely different tracks, which the Amazon data is legit because you're not going to spend money to falsify your data, right? You're not going to go out and start buying.
No, because those recommendations are great. I mean, it's taken a long time, but Amazon gets what Jake wants.
What you want, yeah,
absolutely. You log in, the new pineapple's out, Jake.
But I know it's like if I walk into a bar and that bar knows what Jake wants.
So just a final thought on like privacy is that
it's like Cheers.
I don't want to go into a bar and then publicly know that Stuart walked into this bar, blah 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 blah, and then it be later used for you got into an accident or something else, an insurance company is going to mine that data. It's going to see you in court.
Or you're a higher risk because you went to a bar 100 times a year instead of 50 times a year.
Yeah, and that may affect your employment.
Well, so look, Progressive does that now with that little stick that you plug into your computer. They track where you go.
Yeah, but that's optional, right? You don't have to.
You want the lower rates.
Yeah. So that actually brings up a comment I wanted to make based on this discussion around using social Wi-Fi and maybe a way to fix it. So when we go to log into a wireless system, and we have two options, log in with Facebook or get a guest username and password like we did this morning.
We did.
Oh, wait. Nobody cared.
Three options. Don't use it.
Or don't use it. Nobody batted an eye at creating a username and a password and using that. Why not? Well, Sam did because he didn't necessarily like the terms of service.
It had no personal information. I made it up, and all it had was a made-up name and a made-up password.
Okay, so you're limiting the exposure that you could possibly have based on a specific subset of information. Now, quick question for all of you around the table. How many of you have a Facebook account? How many of you have a 100% public Facebook account? You've shared everything that's ever been posted publicly. Yep. Almost every head is shaking no. So there's a permission model inside of Facebook that says, I only want to share a specific set of my information with a specific group of people.
That's hard to find, Facebook keeps changing that.
They keep changing it, they hide it, they make it hard to find.
Irrespective of whether or not Facebook is playing games with that, the permission model does exist. What if social Wi-Fi was set with a similar permission model? So that rather than having an arcane 45-page list of checkboxes that an API is allowed to access, I am only allowed to access information marked as public on a Facebook profile. The same information that anyone who logs into Facebook with or without an account can see about myself, about Jennifer, about Craig. So by limiting that with the same permission model that you use, I can guarantee A, what information you see, and B, what information will be seen in the future. Would that fix social Wi-Fi?
That's already there. That's what the API does today. The API today actually uses your privacy model. So if you say that they can know my full name or my partial name, or they can know my date, they can know the full birth date or whatever, that dictates what information is sent upstream to the social logins.
I've got an idea. What if there was a logo like Wi-Fi, like from the Wi-Fi Alliance maybe, social Wi-Fi or something like that, social Wi-Fi certified. What if there was a logo that required you to meet a certain set of basic privacy restrictions? Now, it wouldn't satisfy everybody because some people don't even want them to know my name, right? But what if there was a sort of a standard and that people could be encouraged to sign in that way?
I think you just took away what Richard wants. Because the retail wants all that data. Now, if all you gave them was name, there would be no value in them doing it.
Really, isn't the solution end user education?
I think that's a losing
and
battle.
Really, so the slippery slope there is licensing end users, right? At what point does your social security number become an IPv6 address? And that gets bound to you at birth, and that's your access to getting on the internet, right? I mean, when you follow that out to its logical conclusion, isn't that what you're talking about doing? Anonymity on the internet's dead.
But you have to look at it from a different perspective. I mean, you have, my older daughter loves it. You know, she opts into all this because she gets her coupons and everything else.
Oh my God.
It's her way of saving money, right? Good, bad, or indifferent, I'm going to say, and maybe you agree or don't, but the vast majority of the folks that really truly don't understand what's going on behind the scenes, they opt into this. They want the free Wi-Fi. They don't want they want the untethered.
Well, as Drew said yesterday, when we talked to him last night, it was if you're older than 35, there are 15% opt-in. If you're under 25, 80% opt-in.
And that's
and
probably
I
the
believe
answer
he has
to
the
this
stats.
whole discussion right there.
We have nobody here under 25.
Speaking to the permissions model, there's an Android app. It's called Smarter Wi-Fi Manager that disables your Wi-Fi. If you don't want, you don't have to think about it. You set it up. You say, when I'm in a known location, turn my Wi-Fi on. If it's not, I'm not there, turn it off. You don't even have to think about it. So by default, your Wi-Fi is turned off unless you've told it, you've authorized it to be turned on.
That's an interesting number, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
You did bring up a good question, though, about what if there was the Wi-Fi Alliance did the social Wi-Fi thing.
They created the Wi-Fi name to encourage consumers to do this.
It should go beyond that, though. We are so fragmented at in the client space. I'd love to see the Wi-Fi Alliance do more of that sort of thing. Wi-Fi Alliance consumer stamp, Wi-Fi Alliance enterprise stamp, have some criteria that separates this crap from that crap. Now that we're getting social Wi-Fi, there's elements of that, just something that puts a,
steer the ship,
each one
right?
of these things is different, you know what I'm saying? But you buy them off the shelf, and because they got the logo, there's an implicit everything is perfect with everything else, and it's just not the case. And there's not enough clarity right from the packaging level. So I think you bring up a good point. I don't know if it's right for social Wi-Fi, but I know it's right for a lot of things.
And the problem is just educating people is not going to solve the problem, because you can't educate people out of things that they're just not interested in or that are too complex to educate. That's the problem with Facebook, in my opinion. The problem with social sign-on is really a Facebook problem. It's that you got 45 check boxes that nobody even knows where they are. And they change them.
Lock it
And
down.
once you've accepted the
there's no
terms,
trust
they can change
No.
the
that they're
terms
gonna-
afterwards.
No,
Exactly.
change it.
Do it.
If there was some much more specific set, if it was like do not track was supposed to be, if people could just click one thing on Facebook that would say social sign-on privacy or social sign-on no privacy, I think we would all be probably a little bit happier with this, right?
And then some vendors like Apple in iOS 7, they no longer are 6. They no longer allow you to tap into the UDI because they were tracking that, right? Now in iOS 8, they're sending these
doing
bogus
randomized MAC.
Yeah, so I mean, some vendors are taking an active effort to hide your identity for you, but that just adds other complications with managing networks now.
Well, we do have to wrap this up, but it's not solved, but it's a very good question, I think.